Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk, Live. Well, viewers, welcome back to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Tonight is episode 204. We are in season 4, and I am absolutely honored and excited to introduce our special guest tonight. His name is Tony Rubleski. Rubleski. I may not be pronouncing it right, but I know this. He's a man who's got a lot of hope in his heart, and he's a hope dealer. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live this evening, Tony.
All right. Well, Jay and Kamal and everyone watching live or later on, pleasure to be here. And thank you for the invitation, man. We're going to have a good time tonight. So grab a pen and paper or your beverage because it's going to be a lot of fun as advertised.
There you go. And of course, I'm excited to introduce my co-host in season 4. His name is Kaimalo. He calls home today in an island of Hawaii. Welcome back, Kaimalo, to Real Men Real Talk Live.
Aloha, my kako. Always a pleasure to be here, Jay.
And so, as we wait for the viewers to jump on and show up in tonight's episode, viewers, I want to thank you for joining us for tonight's episode. If you should hear something you like or love, please feel free to drop it down in the comments, as well as if inspired, please share it out with your friends and family in your community. Tonight's episode is 204. And something I learned about Dr. Tony here. Well, I'm calling you a doctor now. You've just been elevated here. But tonight's show is all about, well, before we go there, I do want to share something about Tony. He's an author. His world came crashing down on him due to a severe gambling addiction back in the day. Rather than giving up, Tony found a way to use the crisis to turn his life around. This is what he learned, and he hopes to help others do as well. And so tonight's show topic, I'm going to repeat that. Tonight's show topic is all about how to positively disrupt your life in a time of great change. And Tony, since you suggested this topic, it was a topic that you're most passionate about. I'm going to invite you to kick us off, get us hot, light us up, and let's get this show going on all about how to positively disrupt your life in a time of great change. Why? Why was this topic such a passion for you this evening? And welcome to the show.
Thank you again, Jay, and everyone that's watching live or catches this post, time shifting. It's real simple. We have an obsession as a culture and in a world. Strong opinion right out of the gate. We're addicted to negativity. We're drawn to the breaking news, the latest crisis, the latest issue with weather. And we seem to be, as a human species, starting to question that narrative. Why are we addicted to negativity when there's so much good around us? I always say to groups and clients around the world when I speak with them, not at them. I don't speak to audiences anymore. I speak with them, you guys. And I know we have a lot of female viewers, so I want to reflect that this is for men and women around the world, no matter what level or stage of progression you are at in the awakening process. To me, it's joyful to watch people go, I have a lot of talent. I have a lot of good things here I should be grateful for. And their story. I always advocate, never downplay the significance of your own life story and the positive impact it can have on others. Let me repeat that. Never downplay that significance of your own life story, because it may resonate better with someone that you may not even imagine than maybe one of your closest relatives. Or it's a coworker that doesn't quite get your story. That's okay. But someone else may hear your story and it might dramatically impact their life. So to me, gratitude is a lifestyle. It's a daily habit. Couple clues right there. Daily habit. So tonight, if we get time amongst the team, kicking some ideas, playing pitch and catch, gratitude is used a lot now, which I'm grateful for that. I'm glad people are talking about gratitude, because what you focus on, you attract, you become, and you embody. You guys get it. There's no accident why we're here tonight. So thank you for that.
Kamala, What did you hear? What do you make of what Tony just shared?
Whole lot of truth, man. It's such a I feel like the true understanding and realization of that just makes life so much simpler. When you really understand that what you give your energy to is what you get back. And there's always things to be grateful for. And I think that's all life really is. It's just a continual opportunity to respond to everything that's offered to us the way we choose to respond. And that's really the only thing we have control over. So to choose to be grateful for those things, it totally shifts the this whole idea, especially around like, you know, um, life being a burden or a struggle or um, all of these things that are still kind of rooted in that negativity that Tony was speaking about, this like hyper focused view on the negative. I think a lot of that comes from the cultural myth of um, originally in Christianity, like this original sin, there's something inherently wrong,
Mhm.
right? Um, and then we're basing a lot of our assumptions of the world off of that. But I really personally like this belief of pronoia, if you guys are familiar with that word, where, it's opposite of paranoia. It's the idea that everything in the universe is conspiring in your favor. And so to kind of take away the immediate reaction view and be able to look at things from a perspective of, wait a second, how could this actually be working for me instead of
Mhm.
happening to me and against me?
Excellent.
I love that, and I want to piggyback, Tony. I want to share something with you and the viewers. Last week, at the end of the episode, I dropped a pretty significant bombshell, and what I want to share is the topic title that you presented tonight, which is how to positively disrupt your life in a time of great change, is the season that I personally am in my personal life.
Hmm.
And I'm going to share my truth with all of you tonight, including the viewers. What is really helping me navigate through this new season of great change is a few words: grace and gratitude.
Hmm.
And how I've weaved the gratitude into this moment of great change in my personal life is, instead of holding on to what feels like a loss, I'm embracing the gratitude of what that relationship of over 9 years provided for me. I grew so much in that relationship. I learned from the wisdom that my partner shared with me. She was one of the greatest mentors in my life. Even in my corporate career, and I had one mentor in particular, Doug Felder is his name. And he was all about self-improvement, Tony and Kamala.
Mhm.
And as much as he invested in his team, and I was part of his team, in all those years that I was there, I never learned as much as I learned over the past 9 years. And when I'm able to frame that truth right here in my heart, instead of living in pain, instead of living in sadness, I have a choice. I get to live in gratitude, to thank
Yeah.
that beautiful soul for sharing all of her life wisdom with me that I hadn't experienced yet. And I chose to embrace the majority of it. And for that, I will forever be grateful. And this is happening this is the way to positively disrupt my life in a time of great change. What do you make of that, Tony? What did you just hear?
A lot of gratitude, obviously. insight to look at it not 2 or 3 years from now, Jay, to look back and learn the lesson. You're seeing it right now almost in real time. And what a beautiful testimony to this woman who gave you all these gifts, and how vulnerable you got, because you're breaking this out to us. You said there's no holds barred in the interviews. So you're putting it out there tonight. Very, very, I wouldn't say painful, but it's a very deep valley that you've come through, that and you look at it real quick and go, wow, there was so much benefit from that. And we've all had, if we've had 30 or 40 years of life, unless we've married our high school sweetheart, you're going to have relational breakdowns, separations, divorces, betrayal. And how you reframe it, I believe, as quick as possible. Doesn't mean you don't go through the stages of grief. Everyone has their timeline. But how do you process the lessons, plural, from it? And thank you for that, because I came out of a season almost a year ago as we taped this, where partner and I broke up after 3.5 years. I lived with her and started over again. I'm living in a new house right now, fully furnished, that a year ago I didn't know I'd be in, 5 miles away from her. But you learn the lessons and you just say, wow. And my children witnessed to me on that, you guys. They said, look at all the good times you had. Obviously the ending's not always fun, but they helped me to reframe it as it was happening with the breakup.
If I may ask, how old were your children that shared that with you? If I may ask.
It was my 21-year-old son and my other daughters who were 24 and 26, and they all met her. And they had different experiences, but they weren't vengeful and she did this or you did that, Dad. 3 years and some change is a long time. So for you to have 9 years with this partner we mentioned, that's a long time, Jay. That's a big investment of your life clock, because that dash is so short. So I appreciate you telling us this, that shared humanity, that we can go, wow, he's processing this really quick. So that's a gift tonight. Forever is listening, if they're in a healthy relationship, a new relationship, or they're seeking to manifest one, or they're happy on their own, there's lessons from that. So very profound.
Yeah, agreed. And in that way, Jay, it's it's been beautiful for me, because I've been with you for pretty much all of this process. I was with you in Sedona for a while, and then virtually since I've been home, we've been connecting too on this. And, you mentioned her being a teacher to you in this way. And what I heard as you were speaking was how she is still, being a mentor or a teacher to you in this moment, because as you both touched on, there's lessons and blessings and everything. And even in this time of change, it's really beautiful to see how you both are learning from this experience. And even though physically might be separating, are still together growing through this process of separation.
And that's a choice. I want to just acknowledge Sunwolf. Welcome back to Prescott, Arizona, where you call home. Sunwolf has been a guest on Real Men Real Talk Live in the past, not that long ago. And welcome home, Sunwolf. He says, love the courage and acknowledgement, no matter what. Love this transparency. And so I want to ask you, Tony, you mentioned one of the bullet points in tonight's topic is about getting into nature and being outside. How has nature impacted your own relationship with self and healing?
I think it's one of those things that as children, we intuitively know, and it hasn't been beaten out of us, the joy of creation and nature and energy, from animals to plants to trees to clouds to sand dunes. As we get older, we get busier, we become more adult-like, and we forget how many lessons are in nature. And for me, 8 years ago, as a former compulsive gambler, starting 12-step, I had all this free time, you guys. What am I going to do with it? Can't gamble. I'm kicked out of my house. Where do I go? So I went into the woods. And the woods became my higher power, in essence, along with my other faith components. But it just witnessed to me. When I'm in Sedona, for example, I say to my friend Devin, who we both mutually know, take an atheist out to some of these spots and let them debate you. Not to be mean, but if you don't believe in life or a universal source or God or whatever your faith persuasion is, take them out in nature and just let them sit there and go, how can this be an accident? I call it a nature high. When I'm in Sedona, to Glacier, to St. Croix, hiking through the jungle, the places I've been very blessed and grateful to be at, I just have what I call eyegasms. I look around and go, wow. I'm not Jane Goodall or the reincarnated version of Henry David Thoreau, but I look at it and go, this is what we're intended to do, is to get out and experience and interact with the world around us. So nature to me is the ultimate high. It's free. If you have great blessings of wealth, great. If you don't, you can still go out in nature for free. If you have your health, you're double blessed because you can go out and engage it. You can go into it. You can witness it, and you can sit in awe and just go, wow, I'm grateful to be alive at this marker. So to me, it's the great high of all highs, is a great sunset, a mountain, a canyon, a lizard that you see crawling on red rocks in Vegas, or hiking through the jungle and jumping into a tide pool, you guys. Nothing beats it.
Kamalo, how has nature impacted your own life journey of reset and anything else? Has it impacted your life? And what's your relationship with nature?
Well, I feel very blessed, even though there are a lot of Western ideas that are here. By and large, Hawaiian culture, there is no separation from nature. The word in Hawaiian is aina, and that's, the word for the land and the sea, and also for people. There's this idea of separation. And so I think for a lot of people who are really tuning back into the truth of who they are, nature is a great place to start, because in nature we see these universal truths that also apply to us, which is this ever evolving, ever changing way of things. Whether we were involved in this process of change in the world or not, the world changes. And that's ultimately like the only constant that I think there really is in the universe, is that everything changes form, everything has its season, and then it passes on. And I think there's it's been a really potent reminder as we navigate these ideas that we have in society today of permanence and thinking things are going to be a certain way, and trying to hold on. And that's where so much of the suffering comes from, is from holding on, trying to keep things a certain way when we know ultimately deep down that they can't be any kind of way for forever. So yeah, I mean, nature has always been a great reset for me, especially getting into the ocean. It's just a very humbling experience. Reminds me of how small I am as a physical person here, but then also like how vast and expansive the depth of my being is. Because again, there isn't really a difference between what is me and what is that. We're just different expressions of the one same truth. So yeah, that's my relationship with nature.
Okay. I'm going to share mine right now. I spent 34 years in the conference room and in the boardroom in corporate America as an adult, from the time I was 20 to 54. And I had virtually no relationship with the outdoors, with nature. And what I learned, it wasn't until I was 54 years old when I had what some refer to as that spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening that took place in a hospital in Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Beverly Hills. Within a short window of time, once I got released from the hospital, I was guided to get out of my head and to get into my heart. And the gateway, the key that unlocked the door to my heart was nature. I got out of my head. I got out of lack. And I found love right here at the ocean. When I started on that healing journey back in 2015 at the ocean of Huntington Beach, California. And I took it seriously because for me, Tony, it was life or death.
Wow.
If I didn't find a new way to live, a new way to create daily rituals, practices, or what you called habits.
Mm-hmm.
I was on borrowed time. I knew I had less than a year to live. That came very clear to me in the hospital through God, not through a doctor, but from divine source. And up until that moment, I had left my faith when I was 14. I didn't have God in my life. I didn't have any spiritual relationship with a power greater than myself until I hit my rock bottom almost 10 years ago. And through that process, I was guided to get out of my head and get into my heart through nature. And I'll tell you something, Tony. There is no place I'd rather be than in nature. And that's why eventually I was guided to leave corporate America and experience guiding men and women that are sick and tired of being sick and tired into nature, spending anywhere from 3 hours to 7 or 8 hours, depending on their schedule, guiding them home to reconnect right here with their own heart, their own soul. And nature has been it has probably been the greatest impact in my life outside of the human relationship. And for that, I will be ever grateful. When I left the ocean and I moved to the mountains, the red rocks of Arizona, the Sedona, Arizona community, I had to go through an adjustment. It wasn't the same as the energy that comes off the ocean, because the energy that comes off the ocean is through the surf. And Huntington Beach it's got some strong surf. The ocean waves and the power, the energy is profound, profound. And when I came to Sedona, I had to make some adjustments in my connection with the energy that comes through the land. But I got there. And part of getting there, Tony and Kamala, was learning the value and the power of connecting with others, other men and women, not just nature, but those that choose to be in nature, and connecting with them in spontaneous moments by sharing a simple smile, a simple have a beautiful day, or a simple happy Valentine's Day, happy love day. And in those moments, those that are open to connect soul to soul through nature, they do and they will. So it's been a very, very big part of my own healing journey. Anything else that you want to jump in on as it relates to how to disrupt our life in a positive way through nature? Otherwise, we're going to move on.
Well, I think just a final thing for those that are out there is re-engage it. Make it a habit. Make it a priority, and you will be surprised pleasantly when you unscript the day and you go out in nature, the things you see, the people you will meet, Jay. Getting in the ocean to realize, the energy of that. I don't have the ocean like you guys do. I have Lake Michigan, which is huge. But when I'm in the water, I feel like I'm 7 years old again. So it's just one of those things that in a sped up digital world, take your phone, put it away. We plug this in every day, don't we? What are we doing to plug our souls in? That's the question I ask every audience. You plug this thing in every day. What are you doing to reset this? And usually they're stunned because it's a parallel that we forget because we always got to be on. It's a great to disappear in nature because no one can find you. It's the ultimate alibi that saves your soul in your health, in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. I'm sticking to it.
I like it. And Devin Walker, who is a man, a friend in common, he says we are not apart from nature. We are a part of nature. And he goes on to say, it's a long one, I'm going to repeat it. He says, I've always just looked at people with a kind of a blank stare. I'm bewildered at times when they would tell me that they were lonely because my entire life I've been conscious of and enjoyed being in the most beautiful, loving, intimate, and rewarding relationship with nature. Devin, I got to let you in on something here. You're a blessed man, because if this is your truth and this is your life experience, what a gift. It took me 54 years to be introduced to that new relationship called nature. What a gift you've had. It sounds like from the beginning of time. And there, my friend, you get to embrace the true essence of gratitude for what you've experienced in your life.
Yep. Amen. And Devin, glad to see you on, my friend. We will be on the trail soon again. Awesome.
I'm going to switch gears one more time. What are the few lessons that you have learned from surrender of any addictive patterns or behaviors to positively disrupt your life?
What you focus on the most is what you get. And I know everyone talks about manifestation, the secret, law of attraction, the same thing. But as I mentioned in the beginning of tonight's episode, society has got us almost drawn and addicted to the negativity, the breaking news, the latest plane crash, what's going on in politics. You don't want to be ignorant. However, watch the amount of intake. What is the mental fortress you're putting around the input? And it's hard. And it's worth it, you guys and gals that are listening. But we just tend to think that if we float along, things are going to work out. But you really have to defend your mind. So I want to throw it back to you guys, your experiences with that.
Kamala, what do you got? Again, what are the few lessons you learned from surrender of any addictive patterns or behaviors to positively disrupt your life in a positive way?
Well, I mean, I think kind of like in regards to what we're talking about with the shielding your mind thing, a big part of that for me recently has been in focusing more on creating rather than consuming, because there's only so much that I feel the physical mind can actually consume. And when we're consuming a lot and that affects our thoughts, then inherently we end up creating things, but not based on what's actually the truth of who we are. It's the truth that we've heard from this source or that source that has been repeated so many times that suddenly it's just ingrained and we're just creating that. So that's my response to the defending of the mind, is to just at least have like an even amount of creating versus consuming, because a lot of our culture today is focused on consumption and we're labeled as consumers, when in reality we were put here, you know, as they say, in the image of God, because we are creators and we are co-creators of our reality. And the more we consume, the more we're hungry, right? This is the funny aspect of this. So I think there's a misconstrued idea of what surrender really is. I don't think it's just, like you mentioned, Tony, just like drop it and go with whatever, because there is a level of like active creation that's required in order to live a balanced life. But the way I see it is, you can't affect the things around you, but you do have a choice of what you do with it. And so, you know, some of the greatest artists and the people who have had the greatest impact on the world were the ones who took whatever situation they were in, and as opposed to being like, oh, I'm a victim to this situation, they would create something, whether it be music or physical artwork or speaking, and inspiring other people. And that's really what surrender comes down to for me, is not a lack of action, but rather an acceptance of what is, and then choosing consciously what I do with it.
Good points. If I could add to that, I think the other challenge is, you know, people think, you know, with my line of work, I have it all figured out. I don't. My closest friends and my adult children will call me out if I get this sort of, well, you know, I've got it figured out. No, you don't. It's a work. It's a daily progress. It's a practice. No one hits full enlightenment and stays there. Maybe Buddha did from the stories, or Jesus did. But for the modern times we live in, with technology and commitments, and the world is very small, Jay, you made a good point earlier. We intersect with people. And with that comes energy changes, differences of opinions, and you can't completely shut it out. You have to work within it. And to me, surrender is saying, you know what? They see it that way. That's okay. It's okay to respectfully disagree. And maybe they've given me a viewpoint I hadn't thought about. My closest friends will call me out on things, and I will call them out on things too, because I don't have it all figured out. But if I have more of my habits daily tuned into gratitude and positive habits as a former gambler, then I've reprogrammed the software in my mind to look for the good, to enjoy and be grateful, and not be stuck in negative patterns like I used to be. But let's be very candid here. I'm on different podcasts to read different books. I'm reading David Hawkins right now, Letting Go, one of my favorite teachers. And he'll tell you it's tough from all the different faith walks and traditions to surrender and let go. It's a daily practice, but it's worth pursuing.
Beautiful. I'm going to jump in here right here. Go ahead, Kamala.
I just am curious to ask Tony, how exactly would you define surrender? What does that mean to you?
To me, it's realizing that you have to let go. You are not the ruler of the universe, and other people have opinions and freedom and free will. And that's a good thing. I'm a big believer in freedom of speech, as long as it doesn't break laws or hurts people. Because as a writer and a teacher, my stock and trade is built on words and ideas. I want freedom of expression. My ideas may not be for everybody, but someone else may have ideas I may disagree with, but I want them to have that ability to have the freedom to surrender, to drop these masks. I'm this corporate guy, or I'm this and that, this influencer. That's great. But many times they're hiding their true self. I know, because I hid myself for almost 46 years until I surrendered when I quit gambling. I remember the exact moment I said, God, take me. It was midnight, April 10th, 2017, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I said, I'm done. Next day, it wasn't like a lightning bolt. My life started to gradually change. I had to let go of trying to be the next Tony Robbins, a hero of mine, the next Brian Tracy, who are great teachers. But I was not living my true self because I was trying to control. So letting that go was a huge burden off my soul in my whole life, you guys.
I'm going to share something. Well, one thing, Tony, I want to acknowledge is I want to just acknowledge you. And I want to let you know that it's simple, not easy to let go as it relates to patterns and behaviors around intimate relationships we create with addictions. At one time in my life, I didn't have one. I didn't have two. I didn't have three. I didn't have four. I had 5 addictions.
Wow.
And none of them included alcohol and drugs. Those were not my addictions. Those were someone else's addictions that I was in a relationship with. But I had 5 of my own addictions.
Wow.
And the lessons I learned when I had my spiritual awakening was that the addictions were just there to avoid feeling my pain, to avoid feeling my feelings. It was my ego's greatest strategy to avoid feeling the pain. And I will say this, Tony, tonight, I believe I'm free of my addictions. I don't live in that world anymore because I had the courage to show up and grow up for that wounded younger self, that wounded little boy who I call LJ or JJ. When I had the courage to finally show up and really get out of my head and get into my heart and really explore and understand and learn why I had ended up where I ended up. And once I began to uncover and discover the true essence of who I was, not who I had become as that corporate dude and everything that went with that, I was finally free.
That's awesome.
To be who I was born to be, not who I had become. And through that, I shredded, I let go, I cut the cords to those addictive patterns and behaviors because those were just my ego strategy. But when I really get out of my head and learn how to live in my heart, my life was changed forever in every aspect, in every way. And there's so much freedom in that, Tony, as you've learned when you let go of your addiction to gambling, as I let go of the addiction to avoiding feeling the pain through distraction.
Yeah.
What about this one? Where are you guys at with these things?
Oh boy. My
Because that I
quick
think is the
my
most
quick
common one.
my quick response is it's the ultimate paradox of the digital world we're in. It giveth it gives what we're doing now. It makes the world very small. However, if we don't watch the paradoxical side, it's the most addictive thing ever created. Go watch the Social Dilemma on Netflix. The movie The Social Dilemma. A lot of the social media executives will not even be on it or let their kids be on it. So how do you manage that? In gambling circles, I go to my meetings, we call them, the phone folks that are addicted to gaming on the phone because it's right there, instant access. So if I had the answer to that, we would all be, we'd own multiple islands, gentlemen. I think it's going to be the ongoing challenge, not so much of our age group, Kamalo, your group. You're what, in your mid-20s?
Yeah, totally. I'm 24. Yeah, we were all on Instagram when we were like 14, 15. It was my first addiction for sure. I mean, I guess. I'm trying to think of any. Yeah. No, I think in terms of like vices, it was my first one, and it's the one that still has the strongest hold on me today. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy, it's always there, and there's a real fine line between using it for actually connecting with people and then using it. I found myself looking for answers a lot in it. Like even self-help stuff, it's like, oh, the next self-help video and all this. And again, it's the consumption versus creating aspect where suddenly now, yeah, all my content is self-help oriented, but I'm still just consuming it. I'm not actually like doing a lot of the things these people are talking about or making videos of my own.
Yeah. Jay, your perspective on this, because you're a marketing guy in your former life, corporate America. Talk to us.
As far as my relationship with the phone?
Yeah.
Truth, there's definitely room for a change of habits with my phone. I use it. I try to use it from a business perspective to market the brand, to market the show, to market the work I do on the land, to market the work I do with clients across the globe, around the world through Zoom. But I'm human. I'm a being having this human experience. And so it's simple, not easy. I want to switch gears here on two things. One, so I acknowledge it that I've got a relationship that's not, let's say, where I'd like it to be, but that's a choice I get to make. I want to ask you, Tony, you have a shirt on called Hope Dealer. What does the word hope mean for you in your life today?
The big thing to me, hope means, and thank you for that, is forward looking, that you're never completely down and out. There's always, in football, a first down. Like each new day is a fresh set of opportunities. And you can have 2 or 3 bad days, but you get up the next day, you give great. I wake up and I say a Bible quote, this is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad. I literally say that in my mind and out loud, looking up, because I'm alive. That works for me. I have a fresh day. I'm alive. 1 million people on average die each day around the world. They would give anything to have another minute. Even watching this show right now, they would be grateful to be in the physical form. So to me, you're never done. There's God winks for miracles. There's a reason for hope. A lot of your political leaders know if you take away hope from a society, you can conquer that society. They stop dreaming. They stop being motivated. And people get all bent out of shape. Motivation, inspiration, that stuff. You're one of those guys. I'm like, okay, that's I'd rather be that than somebody else. The legendary former Zig Ziglar industry used to say, motivation is kind of like a bath. You take one every day. I'm paraphrasing the great legendary Zig Ziglar, but it's the same thing. We are in the optimization of life to celebrate, to create, to enjoy it each day. even on those days that are real tough lessons, there is still hope. The name for this came from a friend of mine at breakfast, Jay, before we went on air. He sat down one day and goes, "No, I know what you do. You're a hope dealer." I said, "All right, that sticks." And ever since I've been a small child, I've always looked for the good, the positive, almost to a fault, where I've let some people, because I didn't know any better, take advantage of that. And I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I always look for the good. And I don't ever want that hope or optimism to die as an adult. And it gets harder and harder as you age because you see more things in a life thing called wisdom. And you go, wow, it'd be easy to get jaded. I never want to be at 52 years old tonight. That's my chronological age, the grumpy old man on the trail. Because Jay, you've met him. Kamala, you've met him probably in the ocean once in a while. They're grumpy. And you're like, are you kidding me? I don't want to be that guy. I'm the hope dealer.
All right. So here's the next question. This is coming from Devin. I'm going to challenge the two of you. He says, change is actually easy. It's resistance to the change that makes it difficult. Kamala, why do we resist change? What is it that prevents that armor, that wall, that moment of that screw it moment, that effort moment where we say, screw it. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do it. What is it within our body, temple, that resists?
You might have to pass it to Tony, my friend. Let me try to figure this out.
My best guess is that it's our ego. We would rather die on the hill that I am right versus admit we're wrong and that there's another path. And Devin and I, these are great questions. We've had some very spirited debates, and it's not easy. But when you pray on it and you meditate, you go, what? There's a reason here that I should maybe open my mind. I have free will. I love creativity and independence, but at the core, we're all interconnected. We forget that. So it's hard. We resist change because we're creatures of what? Habit. And we will many times defend those habits for years when we don't want to see the obvious. That's like, we're being blinded. No, I'm not being blinded. And you go, oh, I was being blinded. I just had to let go of my ego and the attachment to my position. So that's my best take on that.
All right. What do you got, Kamala? Thank you for that, Tony. What is it that we resist and change that makes it difficult to change? And if you want to pause, I'll jump in.
Jay, take it away.
It's fear. It's easier to stay living in pain than to consider what might be. We lost Kamala. He's just dropped out. He'll be coming back in, viewers. But what this is about is fear. We've become so at ease, living in pain, living in who we become, fearful of what we may learn about ourselves if we have the courage to step in and make the changes. And for some, we take it to the grave. For others, like you, Tony, that had that moment, that reckoning moment where you just had a knowing that if you didn't change, you're going to run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were no longer at peace. But I want to share something with all of our viewers tonight. If I can do it, if I can pivot in my life from a successful career with wealth and with all the toys, I had them all, and be willing to surrender and give them all up to find my way home, right here, to this heart, to the true, authentic soul that I was born to be, I would never have found my way home. Most likely, I wouldn't be here today. I would have been taken out. So having the courage to change provided me a new way to experience life and to experience love. And when I'm speaking about love, I'm not speaking about the love between me and, let's say, a partner that I had for 9 years. I'm talking about the soul connection with men and women. And no, I'm not polyamorous. And no, I'm not a switch hitter. I am a man that just adores the feminine divine. But I also have a heart open enough, like I had today with such an incredible, beautiful, beautiful session with this man who I just adore. And he cried, and I cried in session. No different than the session I had with this incredible, beautiful young woman this morning on the land. So when you have a heart that's open, because you're willing to change, you get to experience a new way to live, what I call the soul connection. And I want to share this with all of our viewers. I share this with my partner, Mary, who is, we're going through a conscious uncoupling right now. What I told her was that no matter how much mourning I go through, no matter how much acceptance I live in, no matter how much gratitude I have for what we once had, I will not close my heart off. I will not compromise my open heart. I will continue to experience love for men and women and share my love, my authentic, vulnerable love coming from my heart. And there's so much freedom in that. What do you make of that, Devin? What do you make of that, Tony? I got Devin on my mind because I got Devin in the screen.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that really deep, recent amount of wisdom you've been experiencing. And I often mention when I'm with groups that I see everyone as sometimes as 7-year-olds, little children. We're either fascinated, we're having fun, or we're scared, or we're hiding behind the mask of adulthood. And my kids are like, Dad, your religion's people. I love people. Some annoy me. I'm very human. There are some people in life that we know teach us lessons because energetically they're just not in alignment. We had that in Sedona a week ago hiking. We ran into 2 or 3 people that day that should just, I was like, wow, are we in Sedona? Why are they not seeing? They were having maybe a bad moment. But it was just going, wow, that triggered some things in me, you guys, that I was surprised I had in me. But it's really going back to the fact that you start to see through the surface that it's the soul. We all have many same goals, dreams, passions, and we're all human. Doesn't mean it's an excuse for everything, but we're all going through this human experience, which is so short. It goes so fast. And I look at it and just say, people reveal things to me. I don't know if you guys probably get this. People confide to me all the time things, men and women, all ages. And many times they just want me to listen. I just go, okay, I filed it away, never comes up again. They just want to be heard. I'm going to repeat that. People just want to be heard right now. And that's why you're seeing, I think, so much craziness on social media is everyone's trying to say, look at me, look at me, look at me, and all my likes and my outfits, recognize me. But deep down, that little 7-year-old and that man or woman saying, I don't feel like I'm being heard. So the gift of attention, of focus to me is a major premium, and the gift of listening, you guys. So I know I took that a little bit down a different corridor, but you said speak from the heart tonight, and that's what I'm doing. The shared humanity is awakening. It's starting to happen. People are starting to question everything, go, what's wrong here? And we're not living our true authentic selves. We're starting to question the old sales pitch we were given in the Western world. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Jay, I'll throw it back to you.
Well, Kamala, I want to switch gears on you. We're running into about 11 minutes to the hour, and we still got some things I want to uncover and discover. So here's the next question. I'm going to shift gears. How will releasing shame and blame and guilt, being an excessive people pleaser, and healthy boundaries impact and disrupt your life in the most positive way? Now that's a loaded question. There's a lot to that. You don't
There's a lot in that.
You don't have to answer it all. Just take a piece of it. Just take a nugget.
Could
And
you
turn
repeat it for me?
Hold
Because
on a
there
minute.
was.
Hold on a minute. Take a nugget of it and turn it into gold.
Okay, can you give me the first nugget again?
How will releasing shame, blame, or guilt impact and disrupt your life in the most positive way?
How will releasing shame, blame, and guilt? Well, I mean, it's the essence of freedom. Tony was speaking about this earlier. You know, it's like the letting go is not. It's letting go of all those things. It's recognizing the areas where we are still triggered and where attachments come up and be like, okay, why is that? And there's a teacher I like who calls this going down the trail of whys, right? You get to ask yourself, like, why did I respond that way? What is that bringing up in me? And then, you know, a lot of the work you do, Jay, is about showing up for that part of ourselves that is still attached to that moment that is hurt. And so letting go of shame, blame, and guilt is ultimately getting to a point where really anything can happen in this world around you. And you're not like caught up in it. You're not reactive to it. You have conscious choice about how you show up. And shame, blame, and guilt are all those emotions that are unconscious, that are reactionary, and are not coming from an actual choosing of a response. So that's what I would say learning to let go of those things brings to an individual.
Anything you want to add on to that, Tony? You want to piggyback briefly?
Yeah, just real quick. I think that it's like a comfortable blanket. It's blaming others. It's easy because we don't want to take responsibility. That entails work. And if we hold on to that old story, it's an alibi we can use to defend not being our best self. So getting rid of the blame is difficult, but it's very freeing when you just go, hey, you know what? I screwed up. I don't want to keep doing that. What's the lesson? Move on. There's lessons all the time.
You got it. I want to share a very brief story with the two of you. It was just a few months ago. Where was I? I was not in my home, not in my head. I was in the wilderness. And I had an epiphany, Tony. The epiphany was that I was still holding on to the old story as it related to my relationship with my own dad. And whenever I would think about my dad, I would just see him in the negative narrative based on how I felt as a child. And I realized in that moment that I was sick and tired of living in that old story, that old narrative around my relationship and how I saw my father. And how I viewed my father through the mind and here. And so I asked myself a question in the wilderness that day. I said, was there ever a moment where I saw my father happy, joyous, and free? And two memories came back. One was when I got to witness my dad on a racquetball court, hitting that corner shot, that killer shot. And when he'd win that volley, I was a teenager in high school. And we played racquetball twice a week with him and his good friend, Joe D'Agostino. And when he'd hit that shot, you know what he would do? He'd raise his arms up in the air and he was celebrating. And in that moment, I realized as a 62-year-old man, maybe 63, I was early into my 63 years of age, I realized in that moment, I met a part of my father that I never knew as a teenager, that I didn't have the knowledge to understand. I met his inner child, celebrating and having fun. And then I said, is there any other time where I saw my father happy, joyous, and free? And I was like, came to me when my dad was introduced to boating and then fishing. And when he'd hooked that fish on the line and he was reeling it in, he was excited and expressing his happiness, his joy as that teenage boy in that moment. And from that moment, my relationship with my dad was finally changed forever. That's the only way I see him today. Either catching that fish or killing that volley in the racquetball court. Because I
Wow.
finally met a part of my father that I wasn't aware of, that I met in that moment, because I was just a kid. But today, as that man, I finally get to celebrate.
Wow.
And honor my father with love, as my mother has been admitted to the hospital one more time tonight for a condition that seems to not want to let go of her. And so, Mom, if you're listening, know this. I forgive you. And I love you. And I will forever love you and love Dad. That's how we release shame, blame, and guilt. Understand that each one of my parents, each one of your parents, brings with them all of their own childhood trauma and drama, experiences, wounds. And we either keep them living in that pain, or we change the lenses at which we look at them and we see them through. I've got clarity today as it relates to how I see my father, how I see my mother. And there's so much freedom in that. Anyone want to piggyback on what I just shared? Otherwise, we're going to go to closing comments and thoughts.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I want to share something that just came through from Sunwolf. He says to us, I should say, I will never forget how you, me, celebrated a winning shot in pickleball. How you raised your hands, just like your dad did. What a way to celebrate. It was magical. And yes, Sunwolf, I had that epiphany with my father and did some beautiful healing work with my dad on the other side prior to having that experience in the pickleball court. And that provided me freedom. That provided me forgiveness. That provided me compassion. And that provided me love without pain as it related to my relationship with my father. Kamalu, what do you got? Closing thoughts and comments. I just gave mine. What do you got, brother? Yeah, take a nice deep breath. Do me a favor, my friend. Come from your heart, not from your head. We've done enough of that in our lifetime, haven't we?
And we might do plenty more. We'll see.
By the way, while you're thinking or processing, I'm going to take a moment here to add a favor for you. I'm going to give you a moment to delay or pause. This is why we do the show. This is what makes us real men, real talk, live. When we speak our truth without fear of judgment, without fear of conditions, but we speak our truth coming from here, we set ourselves free of addictions, of patterns and behaviors that no longer serve us. And so it's time to set yourself free tonight, Kamala. What do you got?
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, well, what's coming up for me in this moment is a question that I've been asking myself a lot recently in a whole variety of situations, which is, what would love do now? And that takes into account everybody else in the scene, as well as Kaimalu in the scene. And been encountering a lot of beliefs in myself and through my family recently, being physically around my father, that the belief that love is self-sacrificing, but love is not self-sacrificing, it's self-celebrating. And it's being able to celebrate that we are here and that we have an opportunity to share time together in this very limited space with each other. And that's what life just keeps showing me again and again as I work through any attachment where I'm not free, because my heart breaks open a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And the truth of love and the truth of life is that there's no end to it. And the way it looks is always changing form. And I'm just so grateful now today to have love in my life from others and primarily from myself, that is no longer about ownership or constraining other people or constraining myself. And that's in my life what I found to be the true essence of freedom.
Kamala, welcome home, brother. Welcome to the true essence of who you were born to be. And honor that. And remain faithful and trusting to that. You are more than enough. I fell in love with you when I met you in physical form. And you are a beautiful man. Keep going up, shining your light bright, and watch the world around you evolve in the most positive way, disrupting through positive change. Welcome home, brother.
Amen, brother. Mahalo. Thank you.
Are you feeling what I'm putting down?
I'm feeling it every day, my friend. What was it? I think your last show we talked about the word nirvanic. And
We talked about the word what?
nirvanic.
Okay.
Maybe that was here. Maybe that was somewhere else. It's really quite a beautiful thing when you come back to that remembrance of who you are and the love that is available to you in any moment, just by so choosing it to be. And in that we are free. So I love you guys. I'm grateful for you.
Beautiful. Tony, before you go into your closing thoughts, you could either piggyback this last question or create your own. Why is a healthy body, mind, and spirit so important in this positive disruptor of your life or for your life? Now, you can either answer that question or close us out with the closing thoughts. Either way.
Let me piggyback off of Kamala's statements and his deep testimony. There is, I didn't know what to expect tonight. The ego kept saying, this is going to be a long day. I was a little bit on fumes during sound check, and getting on here, energy is very real, the transference, even if it's digitally over the wire or face to face. And what a great surprise to also know amongst my faith walk with a higher power, I'm not alone. It's not easy when you're out there being positive. People mock it online. I have people that think I'm kind of crazy, but there's a lot of people that helps. And that's okay. That I'm not alone. There are other people that are awakening. My circle at times is getting smaller. I'm pruning it the last few years for energy, but it's good to be around men that feel very vulnerable with who they are and don't hide behind walls and I got to be this and that and that and that. So it's refreshing. And this is beyond what I did not expect in a good way, you guys. So thank you for the invitation. I'm glad I took it. I didn't know what to expect. And I thought this is going to come up quick and I'm going on vacation. The old ego, the fear was like, you got too much going on. This won't be worth it. You're not gonna be able to give your best. And tonight it was just like, this was amazing. So I'm glad that you invited me. I said yes. And I didn't let some of the old head thoughts say, maybe you're not going to be able to perform on this. And it's not, you don't know who really these folks are. But I brought an open mind. I felt very welcome. So this is probably one of the favorite interviews podcasts I've ever done, you guys. It just was real.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I want to invite you to repeat that a second time. Why? Viewers, pay attention to what I'm about to say. Because I don't want to receive it here again.
Yeah.
I want to receive it here this time. I want to receive it in my heart. I'm going to close my eyes. So you can repeat at least that last piece. What did you say?
This was very real. And doing a lot of interviews and being guests and interviewing people, it's fun when you get one that really you remember. Because I didn't bring an expectation. I thought, I don't know what to expect here. I watched an episode, but everything changes with the energy. So this was very real and a great way to put to the bookend. I might go to bed 11 o'clock. I've been up since 5 this morning. But energy gives you a boost that you don't need sleep. This has been very real. I took several notes, and I'm interested to see the playback because there was so much honesty here, and not just 7 minutes on Fox or ABC where you have to do sound bites and it's corporate. This was like 3 guys sitting around a campfire talking about life. So thank you for that.
I'm pausing for a purpose so that we all can receive what you just shared. It's something that we don't do enough of. Mm-hmm. We're so quick to respond. We're so quick to defend. And then we're so quick to offend. But when we pause, we can receive it in our heart, in our soul. We can receive the truth. We can honor the truth. And then we can be grateful for the truth of what somebody just shared. Perhaps they meet a part of us that we haven't met before. Or they see a part of us that we are hoping to be seen, but live in a core wound of, I'm not seen, I don't matter, I'm not a priority, I'm not good enough. Tony, you have been a beautiful guest tonight.
Thank you.
I want to let you know in this moment, as we're live, that you are always welcome back on Real Men, Real Talk Live. And with that, viewers, I hope you heard something tonight or on replay that impacts the trajectory of your life, that sets you free, that gives you hope and inspiration, that you have the power within to come home, to return to your authentic self, to return to love. And with that, I love you guys. And when I say I love you guys, it's not just words. In this moment, I feel you, Tony. Kamalo, I feel you. I love you both. I honor you both. I'm so grateful that we met not that long ago, each one of us. Viewers, again, I want to thank you this evening for joining us on Real Men, Real Talk Live.